In this video, we're going to show you how to remove and replace the rear fuel tank on the Ford F-150. It's located in the very rear of the bed of the truck underneath, behind the rear bumper. Location of the rear filler neck. This is the front filler neck door, and this is the rear filler neck door. So we're going to start back here, and we're going to take the gas cap off so we can easily access those 3 mounting screws. Set that aside. Now I have a 1/4 inch 7mm socket. Now that those 3 are out, we're going to raise it up and dismount it underneath. Now with an 8mm or 5/16 socket, we're going to take these clamps off. This one in the front holds the actual filler neck to the bracket that's mounted on the bed of the truck. And loosen it up just enough so it slides right off. And now I'm going to take the clamp off that holds it to the rubber part. So normally I would use an 8mm or a 5/16 or flathead, so you can try that. Mine is so rotted, so I got a pair of locking pliers, needle nose, just to see if I can spin the head enough to get it to start coming off, and it's working. There we go. Now with a little hook, like a pick, I'm going to try to break the rubber hose off of the metal all the way around so that I can get a good motion on this. I'm going to just pry with a screwdriver, see if I can get some penetrating spray in there. And let's that way. We can see if we can get this to work a little bit easier. There we go. Here we go. Now I supported the gas tank, or fuel tank, and I'm going to take the rotted bolts off holding these straps on. I could say what size they are, but it looks like aftermarket bolts have been used 100 times, but I'm going to be using a 13mm wrench or 1/2 inch wrench and a 15mm socket with my air gun, trying to get these to break free. There's 4 nuts and bolts all together. So now we have the fuel pump connector, which is located right here, this gray connector. And I'm just going to push down on the tab and see if I can pull it out. There it is. Okay. I'm going to lower the tank so I can access these fuel lines and vent line. So I'm going to take the hydraulic pressure off and lower this down a little bit. As I guide the hydraulic down, I'm going to just use a pry bar, make sure I can separate this from the frame area. There we go. Just a little bit at a time. All right, now we have access to those lines. Here we have our 2 fuel lines. They have these safety clips on them. I just take a pocket screwdriver or a flathead screwdriver, pop this up like that. You can leave it on the line if you want, or take it off. I'm going to undo both of them. And now with our fuel line tool, they look like this because they're going to go up inside and unlock the little locking fingers that go in there. I'm going to get a pair of pliers to twist that line. There we go. There's one. Okay. And here's the second one. Okay, here it comes. There we go. Take our tool off. Now we have this vent hose. Cut this little wire tie off. Set that aside. Then I'm going to disconnect that hose from that rusted tube. All right. Now I'm going to lower the jack and just hold on to the tank, guide it down. There we go. Let's level it out a little bit. Let's just bring it all the way down. Still has fuel in it, so we have to be careful with that. All right, now we're going to remove our filler neck hose that attaches to the tank, and that's a 5/16 socket right here. Get this clamp off. Obviously keep an eye on your clamps to see if you need to replace them. I'm going to end up replacing all of them because they're pretty rusted, just like the tank. There we go. Take that right off. Now in order to get that clamp off, I'm going to use my little metal pick here. Try not to damage the hose. And there we go. So now I'm going to remove the vent valve off the tank. And just take a flathead screwdriver, see if I can pry this up. There we go. All right, before we clean this area up to make sure no dirt gets in that tank, because we're going to reuse the gas, we're going to take I'm just going to plug that hole up a little bit, and I'm going to take my get that out of there. Not like we're going to prevent we're going to get some in there because that ring is pretty rusted. So I like to use a brass punch and a hammer, and I'm going to look at the direction that this goes in. So clockwise is locking, so I need to go counterclockwise to unlock it. It's time to fold up. we go. That was in pretty bad shape. All right, good news is I can get some more of that rust out of there. Lift the fuel pump up. There it is. Let's get a bucket, let that drain a little bit, and we can move on. Now I got my basin pan here. I'm gonna lift this pump up, take it out of the tank, get past that pickup screen. Bring it right over here and let it do its thing in there. So here's the old one still attached to the vent valve, and I'm going to put the new one in the tank first. Make sure that seat's all the way down. There you go. You can actually feel it on the inside. It popped all the way through. Now I'm going to take the old one off. You can see how it's dry rotted and cracked. And gas will pop through that, so that's why it's really important to replace that. See all the dry cracks. I'll take my new one. Now, normally, some people might use grease or paste. I'm going to use a brake parts cleaner and then popping this down quickly. It's dried already, it's in place. Now we're going to reconnect our filler hose. So I took a mental image of where the yellow writing was, and I know that it was like between 11 and 12 o'clock. So I've got the correct bend going the right way. I'm going to put my new clamp on. And then I'm going to tighten it up. That's a 5/16 or 8mm socket. I like to leave it in an area that if I have to, once the tank is up, I can easily access that. Okay. So before we put our new pump in, we've got a new seal. I'll line that up, make sure it sits perfectly, not overlapping. Now we know that it sits in this direction. I'm going to guide my fuel level sensor in. Get that sock filter pickup screen. So now we can slide over the new retainer ring. Line it up the best we can. And sometimes I use a screwdriver just to push that rubber gasket back into its little seat. Try to get tapped down a little bit on all the corners here. There we go. Now I'll use my brass punch. Keeping an eye on all sections to make sure it doesn't compromise. Just going back and forth. So we got to get it over that last little lock tab. One more little love tab. There it is. We have to get this filler neck hose up over that frame. So the tank is empty. It's pretty light. So I'm going to see if I can Jack this up. Got that filler neck coming right through right there. I'm gonna jack it up. There we go. Now I'm gonna tilt it forward so that I can drop it again a little bit and get to the fuel pump lines. So now I'm gonna take the vent hose, bring that right back over this top frame bar. I'm gonna take my caps off, place those aside. Now I got my two fuel lines here. Smaller one is on the bottom, larger is right here on the top, so that's the blue one. So now I'm gonna put the smaller of the two hoses on. You're gonna hear it click. There it is. And then the larger one. Hear that click? Now I'm gonna put the lock clips on, the safety locks. Larger side goes on the fuel side, the smaller one goes on the tank. Now we'll get the smaller one out. There we go. Put the fuel pump harness up over the top. Put this line over there. All right, now we are ready to put the tank up. All right, now that we have the gas lines hooked up, we have the connector come through. I'm just gonna hook that vent line. Just gonna spray some parts cleaner. Just gives it enough, and it doesn't have that petroleum base that eventually could break it down. There you go. Now we'll take a plastic tie, and I'm gonna tie all these back together. Let's hit the connector, let it click in. There we go. Now I'm gonna put my bolts through, putting the two longer bolts in the front, dropping them through, and then I'm gonna put two shorter ones in the back so I can put the strapping up. Just start the nut. There we go. I'll move it to the front. I'm gonna put a washer on these and then put the nut on. I'm gonna repeat the same on the other side for the other gas strap. Okay, you want to make sure that these gas tank straps are in the channel, lined up with the ribs of the gas tank. So my bolts are a 12mm socket, 12mm wrench, but you can see what size you get. I'm not going to squish the tank. I don't want to crush it. I'm going to snug all four up and then adjust as I go. Let's let the jack down. So now I'm just going to put the two clamps on prior to putting that up in, a little bit easier. And then we'll just guide the filler neck hose into the gas tank hose. And we'll guide the filler neck up into the gas tank lid. I'm not going to tighten these clamps, not until I get the actual piece bolted up on the top, but I will guide them just like that. Now I'm just going to grab my filler neck, line up my bottom hole like that, just put the screw in, start by hand. I'm just going to snug it up. Line up the other two holes. Let's make sure the cap goes on. All right, now we can redo our clamps on the filler neck. Now with my 8mm socket or 5/16, I'm going to snug up the bracket clamp. That actually helped because it straightened the pipe out in the hose. And the same socket, tighten up the hose. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.